Hey guys, welcome to a new episode of Dusty TV. Today's video is a bit different because I'm gonna talk about a piece of software that I use to listen to music and review equipment. Many of you ask me what player I use, and most of you haven't heard of Roon, and it's really difficult to explain what it is in just a few sentences. This video should help with that. Before I start, I need to point out that Roon is not for everyone. From what I noticed, there are two types of music lovers or audiophiles. Those who care about metadata, who want to find out as much as possible about the artists, the albums, the lyrics and so on, and those who couldn't care less. These people just want to press play and listen to music. If you like rich metadata while listening to music, then Roon is for you. If not, you can skip this video. So what exactly is Roon? At its core, it's a music player, but it's much more than that. It has a server-client architecture, which means that you need a piece of hardware that can act as the server, which will serve the music to the clients. The server can be your regular PC, or it can be a headless mini computer, something like a Nook or a Mac Mini. I personally have a Mac Mini running the Roon server. The clients are other devices that want to hear the music being served by the server. They can be another computer, a tablet, or a phone. Roon is cross-platform, so it doesn't matter if you're running Windows, macOS, iOS, or Android. It will work on all of them. So where does Roon look for music? Well, you specify some folders and they can be anywhere, on your main drive, external drives, or network drives. And Roon integrates with Tidal or Qobuz, so you get access to tens of millions of songs alongside yours. So the server handles all the processing and serves the music across your network on Wi-Fi or cable. The client only acts as the interface to display the information and sends the digital signal to your DAC. So I'll give you my current setup. I have a Mac Mini running Roon server. The Mac Mini is conveniently placed near my stereo system, so I plugged in a DAC in the Mac Mini for that stereo system. In the house, there is another computer that has a DAC and an amp for some desk speakers. At my headphone/review desk, there are two Auralic Aries Mini, which are Roon endpoints, meaning that they can receive the digital signal from the server. The Aries Minis connect to some DACs on that desk. In the bedroom, there is a DAC and a headphone amplifier. I use my phone as a Roon endpoint/client to send the digital signal to that DAC. So in total, I have 5 places where music is playing from the Roon server. These places are called zones, Roon zones. They can be configured individually and they can be grouped so that they all play at the same time the same music. Okay, so if the server is headless, meaning that there is no monitor or TV attached to it, how do I control Roon? With my phone most of the time. It acts as a remote for any selected zone. So I can ask Roon to play different things on different zones or group them straight from my phone. Zones, and in particular zone grouping, is very important to me because when I review a DAC and I need to compare it to another, I need the music to be in sync and be able to switch between them in a fraction of a second. And I can do that because I connect them to a headphone amplifier that has multiple inputs and can switch between them with a press of a button. Okay, so we have the architecture covered. Let's talk about the actual interface. Roon opens up with the overview screen, which acts as a recommendation hub. It looks into your library and it tries to recommend your next listen. Then we have the music grouped by artists, albums, tracks, composers, compositions, and we also have internet radio. There are also playlists which can store your local playlists and the ones from your streaming services. Let's have a look at the most important screen of all, the album view. Here you can see your local albums together with your streaming services albums, in my case Tidal albums. They are sorted based on artist name, but then there's a second sorting. Within the same artist, the albums are sorted based on release date. This is pretty awesome if you ask me. Very few applications do this, mostly because they don't have access to rich metadata. This is my preferred view. But you might not want to see the Tidal albums, or maybe you don't want to see the local albums. There's a very easy way to do that. Not only that, but you can do so much more. The way to achieve this is to use the focus feature. I'm gonna go and click on the focus button here. Inside here, I can select format and then select title. This will apply a filter and display only the title albums. But I can negate the filter just by clicking on it, and it will display everything but the title albums. And filters can be combined and negated individually, so you can create advanced filters. Let's say that we want only the DSD albums from the current result set. We go again in the focus feature and apply a new filter in the format section. We select DSD here, and we get only DSD albums from our local albums. Now, it would be a shame if you needed to apply these filters every time you wanted to reach this result set, so Roon allows you to create bookmarks to go back to these filters at any time from any screen. I will create now a bookmark named DSD albums. I have created quite a few bookmarks for my own needs, so you will see similar ones created already. My bookmarks look like this. So I created bookmarks to filter my library in the following way. I can see all my albums no matter what the source is, then the same albums but sorted by date added. Again, if I want only local albums, I can do that, again, date added. And then I can filter some more based on if they are only CD quality, then CD plus, meaning everything above CD quality but not MQA or DSD, because I have filters for those also. And then anything that is below CD quality, something like MP3 or AAC. And then if I want only title albums, or even more interestingly, albums that I never played, if I click on here, you see there is a focus option called played, but I negated it, which means it will show me all the albums that I haven't played. Never played means that not even one song has been played from these albums, and you see there are 498 albums which I haven't listened so far. And then we have some incomplete albums, meaning if there are missing tracks from albums, you can see them in here. Albums with no genres, for example. When you import albums into Roon, Roon uses the metadata databases to set the genres. But if it fails to identify a certain album, then I go in here and add the genre manually. Also, albums with no tags. This is useful if you have untagged albums. I'm going to talk about tags later. And this is our newly created bookmark, which I'm going to delete later. Let's talk about the artist screen. In here, we have all the artists listed, and of course we also have sorting options. Once we click on an artist, let's say the 1975, we get rich metadata about the artist. Things like description, location, formed year, members, social media links, upcoming concerts, top tracks, main albums which I have in my library, main albums which I don't have in my library but I can find them on Tidal, then singles and EPs which are on Tidal in this case, any appearances on either on other albums or compilations and so on, and most importantly similar artists, because I can go and explore artists that are similar to this artist. As you can see, the screen is very well designed and inviting to explore. Okay, let's talk a bit about internet radio. Here you can add the streaming links, but unfortunately the rest needs to be done by you. I had to add the description and picture by myself, since Roon does not retrieve this info from any database. I don't even know if there is such a database. The playlist screen combines your Tidal and local playlists. Local playlists can have songs from multiple sources, but you cannot add tracks to your Tidal playlists. Okay, so we reached the tags section. Tags are just keywords that you apply to tracks, albums, or artists. This is useful if you want to mark a certain version of an album as being the one you like most, or simply apply a certain instrument tag. The way I use tags is with genres and subgenres. Yes, Roon has its own genres, but sometimes I want a more granular and specific genre, so I use tags for that. What's interesting is that you can nest these tags, so you can create a hierarchy of tags. There are many interesting ways of using tags, and you can find them on their community website at community.roonlabs.com. Let's have a look at the search functionality. If you press Ctrl or Command F or the search button anywhere in Roon, you will be able to search. Let's search for antimatter. Roon basically goes and searches in your local library and then in your streaming services, in my case Tidal. And it gives me a top result, what thinks is the top result. In this case it found the band that I was looking for, but it can also list artists that have something similar in the name, or if there are multiple artists with the same name, as we can see here. Then it lists albums where it finds this band or the album title contains this keyword, then some tracks that are using the same kind of filter, and composers and compositions. And from here you can go and explore your artist. Okay, so we have to talk about two more things. One of those things is the zones. I want to show you how the zones look like. When you click on here, you can select the zone where you want the music to be played on. And I was saying that you can group zones. So let's say that I want to group these two zones, or all of them, doesn't really matter. I select group zones and then I just group them together, and now they're one single unit. Meaning that the music that I play in here, if I press this play button right here, will play on all of those zones at the same time, while keeping the individual settings of each zone. And what I mean by individual settings is that I'm going to stop this and ungroup everything so I can access the individual settings for each zone. So here I have a bunch of settings. I can set up this zone for things like max sample rate, max bits, and so on, and max sample rate for TSD, and so on. But what is most interesting is that I can have DSP applied for each zone. So this zone in particular is Auralic Aries Mini, which has attached an T1 to it. So if I click on DSP right here, I get some DSP settings. So I don't have any headroom adjustment here because I use the headroom adjustment in the parametric EQ. I have some sample rate conversion if I need to, but it's not necessary. And here's the interesting part. You can add a bunch of filters in here and you can choose from a list. And I only use from this list the parametric EQ. And I can add an equalizer to this specific zone. So this specific zone has the Hi-Fi-Mine RE2000 plugged in. You can see here that the preset name is named like that. And I can select a preset of EQ from the list of presets of EQ. And this one in particular is the RE2000. And I can add bands in here, and I can set the type of band, where the band applies its effect, and the dBs and the Q. And I can create this, I can save it, and then I can come back and switch it if I change the headphones or the speakers and so on. So the T1 will play with the settings for RE2000, the new Prime DSD with the stereo system speakers, and then this one with my desk speakers. And all of them will preserve their own individual settings if I group them. Okay, so the last thing that we need to talk about is the settings screen. I'll go here and select settings. I'm not going to explain everything that is in here, but you can pause the video and have a moment to read everything. In the general tab, we have some settings about how to display the albums, some sorting options and so on. In storage is where you would specify where your music is. You can see that I specified the network drive. It's attached to my server, and it has about 40,000 tracks. In services, here is where you log into your streaming services. And in setup, this is where you actually start, where you name your core. This is the server. You have a choice between a light and a dark theme. I'm using the dark theme at the moment. If you're using this on a tablet, like a Windows tablet, you might wanna, and you run the application in full screen, you might wanna hide the mouse pointer. So there's an option for that. Some options about the library, how many cores it should use to analyze the data, the tracks, and by audio analysis I mean it. You can see that the current track that is playing right now has the waveform displayed, and that was created using this audio analysis. This is an interesting part of the settings, because this is where you enable or disable or configure your audio devices. And you can see that it tells me what is connected to this Mac, and this Mac has only the SMSL AD18 DAC and amplifier for speakers, but connected to the core, meaning the server, there's a new Prime UDSD. What it finds in the network is an Auralic Aries Mini, and then it can also see AirPlay devices like Apple TVs and Aries Mini, which support AirPlay. And lastly, the backups. You can spend quite a lot of time configuring everything and managing your library, and something happens with your drive and it fails, and then you lose everything. So here you can schedule a bunch of backups. I have two schedules on two different hard drives, so if one fails, at least I have another, and then all of them are also backed up in the cloud. So at least I know I'm not gonna lose them. So I'm backing up every day at a certain hour, and you can also restore in case of a failure using this option in here. Okay guys, I hope this video helps you decide if you should get Roon. I'll talk to you in the next episode. Bye.